New Jersey's governor and his challenger had their final showdown before the November election.
It was a bit more subdued than the last debate, but still heated, covering everything from taxes to mask mandates. Here's a clip.
As the news reported today, he participated in a very large indoor conference, I think over the last 3 to 4 days, in which nobody was wearing masks.
Are you wearing a mask right now? Are you wearing a mask? We're on stage. I've done 227 COVID updates. I wear the mask on stage as I did tonight, take it off, speak, and put it on when I leave.
So Dan Cassino, a political professor at Fairleigh Dickinson University, joins us this morning to recap the highlights from last night and to grade the candidates. Good morning, Dan. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, Dan.
So it seems like the audience was more raucous than the candidates this go around. We'll get into that, but let's talk about some of the issues. As expected, the pandemic was a big topic last night. The governor standing by his decision for mask and vaccine mandates. Republican Jack Ciattarelli saying he encourages people to get the vaccine, but people should make their own decision. How much do you see the pandemic and the governor's handling of it really playing into this election season?
It certainly is the case that Ciattarelli wants to make this about the handling of the pandemic. That is one of the Murphy's strengths at this point. Ciattarelli's been making the strong argument that no, the governor didn't actually do a good job on mask mandates. He didn't actually do a good job, especially when it comes to nursing homes. The problem is that Ciattarelli stands on this, that we shouldn't be having mask mandates, we shouldn't be having vaccination mandates. That flies in the face of what most people in New Jersey want. When we ask voters in New Jersey what they want, we have to remember most voters in New Jersey, including most Republicans, are vaccinated. And so saying we shouldn't require vaccinations just isn't that politically popular a stance. The problem for Ciattarelli, and this is a problem throughout all his issues, is that he has to simultaneously appeal to a really Trump-leaning base in New Jersey, especially in the coastal areas of southern New Jersey, while also trying to win over moderates. And on something like masks and vaccines, it's not clear how he's supposed to do that. Whenever he says he's going to lose some of those folks.
And quite a challenge for him. Well, the budget, another hot button issue. Ciattarelli saying New Jersey's business climate is the worst in the nation. And he promised to cut the budget by $10 billion. Murphy, he defended the budget and said he inherited this mess from Christie's administration. Take a listen.
Hate to let the pesky facts get in the way. We have fewer employees in state government than the day I put my hand on the Bible. We inherited a complete and utter mess, and you were there for 6 years before I was. So we made a $6.905 billion pension payment, the first one in 25 years. We funded public education after you all had underfunded it by $9.2 billion. We're paying our bills. And by the way, every dime of the millionaire's tax has gone into the middle class for tax relief.
If he had cut everybody's property taxes in half, I wouldn't have run for governor. I would have endorsed him.
So, Dan, we know New Jersey residents pay some of the highest taxes in the country. There's been an exodus of residents. Who do you think came out on top, though, when it comes to this state's financial situation?
First of all, we should say there has not been an exodus of residents. New Jersey's population is still growing. The people who have been leaving is mostly richer white people, older people leaving to Florida, and we still have a net influx and net growth in number of people. On this sort of exchange, it is hard for Ciattarelli to capitalize because he was then pressed, okay, you said you're going to cut $10 billion. What are you going to cut? And his answer was, I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell you after you elect me. We'll decide what I'm going to cut. Everyone in New Jersey agrees, yes, we need to cut the budget. We need to cut something. And when you ask what they should cut, they go, well, something doesn't affect me. Something only affects other people. And that's what everyone thinks about every program. I want to cut the stuff that doesn't affect me.
Right. And I thought the moderators did a good job really trying to press him on that issue without really getting an answer. Now, we talked about the audience. Right? The last of the debate was loud and heated between the candidates. They really went after each other. This format didn't allow it. They did a great job kind of letting them rebut when they had to, not cut each other off. But the crowd had to be quieted several times. Take a listen.
There's so much on the ballot. There's so much at stake. Do we stand with our sacred democracy? Or do we stand with Confederate flags and white supremacists and a pack of lies? Do we stand? Do we continue? Do we continue to make the tough?
And that happened quite a number of times, right? Cheers and boos. And what did you think of the overall tone this time?
Look, we didn't get a whole lot of substance. I certainly would like to see more. In the format of the debate, 60-second, 30-second follow-ups, you're not getting a lot of substance out of it. And the fact that the crowd was so engaged meant that the candidates were at times just trying to throw red meat to the crowd, kind of give them something they would cheer. And for people watching at home, that does really matter. If you say a line gets real cheers or gets boos, at home you go, oh, okay, well, that's what I'm supposed to think about this. So it does take away from the substance of the debate a little bit. And honestly, that's what we're all here for. We want to really hear what these candidates are doing, not what they can make a crowd say or in response to what they're saying.
Let's take a look at the poll from Stockton University. It shows the race getting closer between the governor and his challenger, with Murphy taking 50% of the vote, Ciattarelli 41%, and the remaining 9% undecided. So do you think this debate will swing those numbers a little bit more?
We're not seeing any sign that things are getting any closer. And the big limiting factor is Ciattarelli's visibility. We're still looking at 45 to 50% of the New Jersey voters who say they have no idea who Jack Ciattarelli is. And months of television advertising, at least as much as Ciattarelli can afford, have not done anything to change that. If you're Murphy, you're probably still feeling pretty good about things. You're polling at 50% or above in every major poll. We've got new polling data out today showing for people who are over 50, showing Murphy with a 26-point lead among that group. There's going to be some reversion to the mean. Basically, Republicans are going out voting for Ciattarelli, Democrats are going out voting for Murphy. And while there are more Democrats than Republicans, there is going to be some tightening. You expect this to tighten down to a single-digit race, not close single digits, but single digits, 9 to 12 points probably. You expect it to tighten down to that, but probably not much further unless Ciattarelli can win over a lot of independent voters. And we're just seeing no sign of that so far.
New Jersey politics. You know, Dan, never a dull moment in New Jersey politics. By the way, this would be the first time, I think in 40 years or 4 decades really, that a Democrat would win re-election in New Jersey. So it's a very interesting time in New Jersey if it does in fact happen. Dan Cassino, thank you very much for your perspective this morning. I'm sure we'll be checking with you as we get closer to November 2nd.
Thanks so much.